In the heart of a bustling city, there was a cozy restaurant known for its delicious food and welcoming atmosphere. Among the staff, an old waiter named Mr. Thompson stood out. At 75 years old, he carried an air of quiet dignity that made him beloved by regular customers. His silver hair was neatly combed back, and his deep-set blue eyes sparkled with warmth and kindness, even as they hinted at the burden of many stories untold. Mr. Thompson wore a crisp white shirt complemented by a classic black vest, which seemed slightly worn around the edges, showing signs of years spent serving countless patrons. His hands, marked with wrinkles, moved gracefully as he navigated through the crowded tables, balancing trays laden with food and drinks, a testament to his experience and dedication. Every step he took was filled with purpose. He knew this restaurant like the back of his hand. Despite his age, Mr. Thompson worked tirelessly, always wearing a gentle smile that never faded even during the busiest dinner rushes. He had a knack for remembering customers' names and their favorite dishes, which made each person feel special, even on hectic nights when the restaurant buzzed with noise and laughter. The restaurant door swung open one evening to let in a group of rich guests, chatting loudly about their latest luxurious adventures. As they settled into their table, their vibrant energy clashed with Mr. Thompson's serene composure. Little did they know that the man serving them dinner had once fought bravely for his country, risking his life in ways they could never imagine. As he approached them with a warm greeting, he felt a mixture of pride and sadness blending in his heart. A storm was brewing, one that would challenge not only their perceptions but also his own resilience in an ever-changing world. As Mr. Thompson approached the front of the restaurant, the atmosphere shifted suddenly. A group of wealthy guests swept in, their laughter ringing like bells, drawing everyone's attention. Dressed to impress, they flaunted their designer clothes, which sparkled with opulence. The leader of the pack was a tall man in an expensive suit, his wrist adorned with a gleaming watch that seemed to reflect his riches. He flung his arm back dramatically, gesturing for his friends to follow him inside. They strutted across the polished floor with an air of entitlement, making their way to a prime table by the window. One woman, draped in luxurious fur, pulled out her phone and began snapping pictures of her surroundings, treating it like a glamorous backdrop for her social media feed. Another guest tossed her perfectly manicured hand dismissively as she surveyed the menu, clearly unimpressed with the restaurant's offerings. The conversation among them was filled with boasts about their extravagant lifestyles, yachts in the Mediterranean and private jets for weekend getaways. It was as if they assumed everyone around them existed merely for their amusement. Nearby diners exchanged glances, sensing the guests' inflated sense of self-importance. As Mr. Thompson approached their table with a warm smile and a friendly greeting, he could feel eyes rolling and hear whispers exchanged within the group. They barely acknowledged him as they scanned the menu. Instead, they focused on ordering fancy drinks and elaborate dishes without showing any consideration for his efforts or time. Unbeknownst to them, this old waiter possessed stories of bravery and sacrifice that stood in stark contrast to their entitled demeanor, a truth that would soon become impossible to ignore as events unfolded around them. As Mr. Thompson approached the table, his smile remained genuine despite the disdainful glances from the wealthy guests. The tall man in the expensive suit leaned back dramatically, smirking as he surveyed Mr. Thompson's wrinkled hands and worn vest. "What a charming relic we have here," he exclaimed to his friends, laughter bubbling up around him. "I hope he doesn't drop our drinks, they cost more than his whole outfit." The woman in luxurious fur scoffed, flicking her perfectly manicured nails dismissively as she scanned the menu. "Doesn't he know we're in a hurry? Can't he move any faster?" she complained, making no effort to hide her impatience. Mr. Thompson, accustomed to handling rude comments over the years, continued to take their orders with grace. As he wrote down their requests, another guest interjected with a snide remark, "I bet this guy has never even been on a vacation, too busy serving tables." A wave of laughter followed, echoing through the restaurant while nearby diners shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Ignoring their disrespectful banter, Mr. Thompson served their meals with care, ensuring everything was perfect. Yet, they barely acknowledged his efforts. Instead, they focused on mocking his appearance and age. "Maybe someone should give him a retirement plan," joked one of them with an exaggerated wink. Throughout it all, Mr. Thompson maintained his composure, but deep inside, he felt the sting of their words. Each laugh and sneer reminded him of the sacrifices he had made for their freedoms, sacrifices they would never understand or appreciate. Despite the hurtful comments, he held on to his dignity, knowing that respect is not earned through wealth but through character, a truth that hung heavily in the air around them. As Mr. Thompson stood by the wealthy guests, serving them with all the grace he could muster, his mind drifted back to a different time, a time of courage and camaraderie. He remembered the day he enlisted, filled with youthful excitement and the desire to protect his country. The sound of the military bus rumbling down the road was vivid in his memory, packed with young men ready to defend what they loved. His thoughts shifted to the harrowing days on the battlefield. He recalled the roar of gunfire and the chaos all around him as he fought alongside brave comrades. They were not just friends, they were family bound by a shared goal to secure freedom for those at home. Each moment in combat was a test of bravery, where fear became a companion that challenged him at every turn. Yet, it was also during these moments that he discovered his own strength, how to stand tall even when everything felt uncertain. He pictured their faces, young like him but now gone, heroes who would never return to share their stories or enjoy life's simple pleasures again. With every mission, Mr. Thompson pushed through hesitations, driven by the thought of a peaceful future for all, the very future that awaited anyone dining in comfort in his restaurant. In stark contrast to the laughter and mockery of the present guests, he remembered returning home after the war, striving to rebuild his life while grappling with memories that often haunted him. The laughter of younger days echoed as he embraced his new role as a waiter, finding purpose in serving others with kindness. Yet as he stood there now, listening to those entitled remarks, a part of him wished they could understand the weight of sacrifice and what true honor truly meant, a lesson that transcended wealth and status altogether. As Mr. Thompson placed the guests' plates on the table, a heavy sense of irony washed over him. The same hands that once wielded a rifle with courage now served fine dining to those who had no idea of the battles he had fought, both on the field and in life. He couldn't help but notice how different his life was now compared to those extraordinary days of valor when he stood shoulder to shoulder with fellow soldiers, united by a common purpose. During the war, he had faced danger head-on, knowing that each decision could mean life or death, not just for himself, but for his comrades beside him. They fought bravely through mud and gunfire, sharing laughter and tears alike. Each moment solidified their bond and fueled their fight for freedom. The thrill of those days was unlike anything he felt now as he navigated the restaurant's bustling floor, where criticism often felt like a shot aimed at his heart. Yet here he was, donning an apron instead of combat gear, taking pride in serving others while enduring ridicule from those who cared little about sacrifice or duty. Instead of medals and recognition for his bravery, he earned modest wages and restless nights marred by memories of fallen friends. In every plate he served with care lay a reminder of values like dignity and respect, qualities glaringly absent from the reactions of the wealthy guests. Their laughter echoed hollowly against the weight of his past sacrifices. Mr. Thompson understood that true honor doesn't come from wealth or status but from character and what one chooses to uphold in the face of adversity, wisdom earned from experiences no amount of money could ever buy. As Mr. Thompson continued to serve the wealthy guests, he couldn't shake the heavy weight of their ridicule from his mind. However, at a nearby table, a young girl named Lily sat with her parents. She was no older than 10, with bright blue eyes and curly hair that bounced as she leaned over her plate of spaghetti. Unlike the rich guests, she was observant and kind-hearted, and she couldn't help but notice the sad expression on Mr. Thompson's face. With a gentle poke to her dad's arm, she pointed across the room. "Dad, why does that waiter look so sad? He seems really nice." Her father glanced over but shrugged dismissively as he continued to share stories of their own indulgent life. Lily, however, was not deterred. As Mr. Thompson walked past their table with an empty tray, she mustered up all her courage and called out to him. "Excuse me, sir." He paused, turning to meet her earnest gaze. "I just wanted to say thank you for being so nice. You make this place feel special." A flicker of surprise crossed Mr. Thompson's face before a warm smile broke through his sorrow. "Thank you, young lady," he replied softly. "That means a lot to me." Lily beamed back at him, unfazed by the disinterested chatter of the adults around her. She continued, "You should know that I think you're amazing. In that brief exchange, an invisible bridge formed between their worlds, a genuine connection born from kindness and empathy that transcended social classes. For the first time that night, Mr. Thompson felt a spark of warmth in his heart amidst the coldness of entitlement surrounding him. It reminded him that not everyone shared the same views. Kindness could still thrive even in unexpected places. Just as Mr. Thompson was clearing the empty plates from the wealthy guest's table, one of them, a woman dressed in a strikingly expensive dress, made a particularly cutting remark. "Honestly, if this old man can't even keep up with our orders, it's time for him to retire," she snickered. Her friends erupted into laughter, and the sound grated against the atmosphere like nails on a chalkboard. Nearby diners began to fidget in their seats, exchanging uncomfortable glances as the laughter filled the air. Mr. Thompson's heart sank under the weight of her words, but he outwardly maintained his composure, forcing a polite smile as he collected the dishes. Yet inside, emotion surged like a tide threatening to break free. A man sitting at the adjacent table, a retired veteran who had quietly observed everything, could no longer remain seated. He rose slowly, his face marred by concern and disappointment. "Excuse me," he interjected, directing his gaze toward the rude client and mustering all his courage. "You have no idea what this man has sacrificed for your comfort." The abruptness of his voice gained the attention of others around him. The laughter quieted, and even Mr. Thompson looked up in surprise. Encouraged by the veteran's bravery, a few nearby diners began to nod in agreement. "Not everyone can buy kindness or respect with money," another patron added firmly, their voice steady but infused with growing passion. Inspired by their collective sentiment, several voices joined in unison to defend Mr. Thompson, adding stories of bravery that they had experienced or heard about from others like him. The once loud table turned silent as they realized they had stirred more than just discontent. They had awakened respect for the sacrifices that often go unnoticed. In that moment, Mr. Thompson felt an unexpected warmth surround him, a realization that integrity and appreciation could shine through darkness and entitlement when people stood together against disrespect. As the restaurant fell silent, Mr. Thompson felt a surge of emotion welling up inside him. He had endured enough mockery and disrespect for one night. Drawing on the strength he had cultivated as a soldier, he took a deep breath and stepped forward, his voice steady yet filled with conviction. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, capturing the attention of both the wealthy guests and his newfound allies at nearby tables. "I've spent many years serving others, not just in this restaurant but during my time in the military. Each day, I was reminded that respect is not something you earn through wealth or status, it is earned through bravery, sacrifice, and kindness." He paused, letting his words sink in as he scanned the room, noticing nods of understanding from the other diners. "Life has taught me that everyone carries their own battles. My scars may not be visible to you, but they are there, just as yours are." His gaze shifted to the wealthy guests who had laughed at him moments before. It's easy to forget what truly matters when we're wrapped in our own comforts. But I assure you, real strength lies in lifting others up rather than tearing them down. The atmosphere in the restaurant shifted palpably as Mr. Thompson continued. "I stand here not just as a waiter but as a reminder that behind every face is a story worth telling. If we can approach each other with empathy and respect, we all become richer for it." With those words, a sense of unity began to bloom among the patrons, filling the room with a warmth that had been absent just moments before. Mr. Thompson felt an overwhelming sense of dignity wash over him. He had found his voice amidst adversity and reminded everyone present of the power of respect and kindness, a message that resonated long after he finished speaking. As Mr. Thompson finished his heartfelt message, a heavy silence blanketed the restaurant, allowing the weight of his words to sink in. The wealthy guests, once filled with laughter and arrogance, now sat in stunned silence, exchanging uneasy glances. The tall man in the expensive suit, who had mocked Mr. Thompson earlier, shifted uncomfortably in his seat, his expression clouded with guilt as he began to reflect on his behavior. "I can't believe we treated him that way," he murmured to his friends, his voice barely above a whisper. The others nodded slowly, their faces flushed with embarrassment. They had been so wrapped up in their own lives and indulgences that they hadn't stopped to consider the humanity behind the waiter's worn smile. The woman in the luxurious dress looked down at her plate, her heart heavy. "I thought I was just being funny," she admitted softly, her voice tinged with regret. But what he said, it really hit me. Another guest chimed in, we were so caught up in our own little world that we forgot there are real stories behind every face we see. The realization washed over them like a cold wave. How could they have been so blind to the struggles of those around them? Encouraged by this shift in perspective, one of them reached for Mr. Thompson's attention from across the room. "Sir," she called out gently, "we owe you an apology." Mr. Thompson turned towards them with a curious expression as they continued to express their regret and gratitude for his service and wisdom. Their sincerity ignited a flicker of hope in him. Perhaps this encounter would serve as a turning point, not just for them but for everyone present. In that moment of reflection and vulnerability, the wealthy guests began to understand that true wealth lies not in material possessions but in kindness and respect toward one another. With the tension in the restaurant eased and a new sense of understanding blossoming, one of the guests, a man who had been particularly vocal with his criticism, stood up. He cleared his throat, his voice trembling slightly as he addressed Mr. Thompson. "Sir," he began, looking directly at the waiter, "I want to sincerely apologize for my behavior earlier. We were thoughtless and disrespectful, not realizing what you have endured in your life." As the man spoke, the other guests began to nod in agreement, each reflecting on their moments of ridicule. The woman in the luxurious dress followed suit, her expression earnest. "Yes, I too want to apologize. We all failed to see the person behind the uniform and the apron. You have shown us more grace today than we deserved," she added, her voice soft but firm. Mr. Thompson met their gazes, surprised yet touched by their change of heart. He had spent decades serving others, and to hear such words from those who had once dismissed him was profoundly moving. He responded gently, "Thank you for your kind words. It takes a strong person to acknowledge their mistakes, and I appreciate your honesty." Another guest chimed in, reflecting on how Mr. Thompson's experience as a soldier reminded them all of the importance of humility and respect in everyday life. As they continued to express their gratitude for both his service and his work at the restaurant, Mr. Thompson felt a warmth spread through him, a feeling of validation that was long overdue. In that moment, a shared understanding emerged. They were no longer just wealthy guests and an old waiter, but members of a community brought together by kindness and reflection. The evening that had begun with mockery now transformed into a gathering filled with respect, creating a bond that would linger long after they left the restaurant. As the evening drew to a close, the restaurant buzzed with newfound warmth and understanding. The experience shared by Mr. Thompson and the wealthy guests served as a poignant reminder of how crucial respect and empathy are in our daily lives. In a world where people often judge one another based on appearances or societal status, it is easy to overlook the stories and sacrifices that lie beneath the surface. The echoes of laughter and light-hearted conversations that had once filled the room were now replaced by thoughtful dialogue. Patrons discussed how life's hardships often affect the way we treat others. Many expressed a commitment to recognize and value those who serve them, whether in restaurants, workplaces, or their communities. It was a collective awakening, a recognition that every person deserves respect and dignity, regardless of their circumstances. Mr. Thompson's story illuminated the sacrifices made by countless individuals who have fought for freedom and service, emphasizing how heroes often walk among us in everyday life. As patrons parted ways, they contemplated how simple acts of kindness could bridge gaps between different social classes, creating connections that uplift everyone. This night holds the potential for lasting change. We are all called to reflect on our behavior and encourage others to do the same. Let this experience remind us that true wealth is found not in possessions but in genuine connections forged through mutual respect and understanding. As we move forward, may we strive to listen more, empathize deeply, and express gratitude for those who contribute selflessly to our lives. The power to create positive change lies within each of us, waiting to be harnessed for a brighter tomorrow.